Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Fuel for Success. This is episode 147, and this is Thursday, which means today is our business development entrepreneur show. And thanks, everybody, for being here live. It's good to see you. My co-host, Matt, is still in Michigan. I believe this will be the last show from there. And it's good to see you, my friend.
It's good to see you. And yes, Sherry and Ashley, this is green tea. And it's a healthy green tea. It's probably one of the healthiest green. You know what the healthiest green tea is? Matcha. We'll talk about that Monday. Mike, there's one word I have for every future entrepreneur out there at the start of this show. One word. You ready for this?
Ready.
Start.
Yeah.
You know, I've got friends in low places. No, I'm just kidding. That is a cool song, but not really. But listen, I've got friends, Mike, that are still talking about the same idea, and it's been 5 years, 10 years. No joke. Friends that are like, one day I'm going to do this, and one day I'm going to do that. Abandon the one day conversation. And let's talk about now. Let's talk about today. Let's talk about starting. I think, Mike, we're in an age where there's so much opportunity and possibility.
It's true.
That the best thing to do is literally just start and figure it out later. Yeah, are we for planning? Yes. Are we for thinking it through? Yes. Are we for counting the cost? Absolutely. But what I'm not for is this overthinking it and waiting for the perfect time or the perfect opportunity. You know what I literally believe is probably 90% of the battle between somebody, whether they become an entrepreneur, start a business or not, is that one word, start. It's do it. It's literally like, okay, if you're going to start a business, start the business today. Start it right now. If you're going to start a church, go start it.
Yeah.
Whatever you're going to start. If you're going to start a ministry, if you want to start a bus ministry, start. So I don't have a bus. So start anyways. Use your car. Go buy a bag of candy. I look at what you guys are doing with Community Connection. I love the pictures last night. And, that is entrepreneurial. That's very entrepreneurial. It's pioneer. It's innovative. It's new. It's unique. It's cutting edge. It's fresh. But you guys did it. You started it. You thought outside the box. I mean,
right.
Well, what church thinks about canceling their midweek service to go into inner city communities and throw parties for the kids and families? How cool is that, my friend? But what I like about it is you started. And that's the key to successful business and entrepreneurship is let's get started. Let's do it. I mean, Fuel for Success, there was nothing perfect about Fuel for Success at all. We're still tweaking, as you know.
Right.
We're still learning and growing. But we're 147 episodes in because of one reason. You ready for this? We started it. We went and we said, let's do a daily talk show. Okay, Mike says, let's do it. When? Let's do it tomorrow, New Year's Day. Let's just start New Year's Day, 9 a.m. or 11 a.m. or whenever it was. Here we are. Why not?
Here we are. And there was, like you said, a little bit of counting the cost, understanding that we had about a 30-second discussion like, man, that's a big commitment. Yeah, it is. All right, let's do it.
And both like daily? Yeah. Let's do it. In fact, we were starting thinking about doing weekly. And I love what you said. You go, you know what? Let's just go all in. Let's do it daily. I'm like, yeah, let's do it daily. I love that. Same thing with Mission 25, man. Like 98% of all the ideas we have, we just say, okay, let's do it. Let's try it. Let's rent an ice cream truck and take it in the worst neighborhood in America. Okay. Ready for this? It's 8 p.m. in Los Angeles. In Los Angeles. We'd been serving since 5 a.m. that morning. I looked at Mike. I was like, Mike, we got all this leftover food. Let's go back to Skid Row. 9 p.m. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
It's the key. The key is doing it. The key is to just face it head on and strap up your boots, roll up your sleeves, and do it. And start. Get an idea in your mind. That's from God. Execute on it. Fail more.
So you know what happens in the life of an entrepreneur and the life of living a lifestyle like that. It seems frightening if you've never lived that way. If you've never just like, okay, I'm just going to take a bit of a risk and go out on a limb and do it. What happens is as you do those things, you build an inner confidence that says, you know what, I know things are good. Because when we do that, Matt, when we say, hey, we're going to do this, let's just, launch the show, right? We know there's going to be issues, there's going to be problems to overcome and all those things, but because we've done those, we've done it before, we've just done things, we know that, things are going to come up, but we'll be able to handle it. We have that confidence. And sometimes it's just a matter of confidence and knowing, things are going to happen, but I think that we can handle it. So, and you'll build that faith in yourself, I guess, if you want to put it that way.
And you know what happens? You literally reach a crossing. You reach a point of no return. I'm going to be honest, okay? You reach a point of no return in that you will never, ever work a 9-to-5 job for another person again. It's not that you're not willing, if that's what it takes. You just reach a point of no return that you're like, I get 24 hours a day. I have all this possibility. I have my skill set. I have my craft. I have my talent. I have my genius. I'm not going to go give my time and my talent to a company for, $5, $10 an hour. You know what I'm saying? So or $5, $10, $20 an hour. Right. You got to learn to value your talent. I don't think enough people, Mike, really truly value their own talents and their own strengths. Of course, we can talk about some of the reasons why people never start. Lack of confidence is one of them. What would you say would be a reason, Mike? I know you've seen a lot of people that they got good ideas, they're dreamers, they're always talking, but they're not do. What do you think are some of the reasons why people don't start, man?
I think one of the main reasons is people think that it's more complicated than it really is. To start an endeavor, to start a ministry, to start a business, whatever. I've seen several people that get sort of locked up in the planning stage, and there's so much, and I'm not opposed to planning, but if you're launching an internet startup company, for example, a one-page business plan is plenty. You don't have to have in-depth partnership agreements signed and documented and notarized, and I mean, all that is looks great and it feels nice and whatever, but you don't have to have all those things in place. No. I'm a lean startup kind of a person. I'm a agile development kind of person, and I think I've talked about this before from the development standpoint of it. It applies to a lot of things, not only software type products, but all products. It's like figure out what your minimum viable product is. What is the very minimum bare thing that you need to bring to market? And that could apply to a ministry as well. And just say, what's the minimum thing that I have to be viable? And then take that and go with it. And then evaluate how it works, make changes and adjust along the way, rather than trying to have a perfect plan up front, which you're never going to have a perfect plan anyways.
Paul Mitchell, ladies. Black, right? You know the real reason why that's the design? Because he couldn't afford a graphic artist. He couldn't afford a logo. So he literally had to go like, okay, let's just do black and white. Like a lot of people don't even know that about him. He's a multi-millionaire. And when he started, he was selling his products door to door. And he literally was taking the ugliest looking packaged, right? So let me show you something about this. There's this myth. Some companies spend $25,000, $40,000, $50,000 on a logo and graphics and all that, and I believe in it to a degree.
Yeah.
But if you're good enough and amazing enough, take Paul Mitchell for example. He had nothing, and he's now a multi-millionaire. And what I love is he didn't change and go with the fancy. He stuck, which there's a discussion there, but I admire that he stuck with his. What got him to where he is today? Hey, they didn't go changing his packaging, to my knowledge.
I've had conversations about building the iconic logo for a company, and it's like, well, you got to understand that the logo doesn't make the company makes the logo, and One of the best examples that always stands out to me is Starbucks. The company makes that logo iconic. The logo itself is stupid. It has nothing to do with coffee. It's dumb. That's the dumbest logo ever. Are you kidding me? But everybody recognizes it because the company made it iconic. So don't get wrapped up in those trivial details. It's like, okay, just make something that you can live with. When I look at a logo design, I'm like, okay, what's going to transfer well to print? Just be practical about it. Yeah, and the name, exactly, Sherry. I do like also what Michelle said. I think that's a huge, huge, huge barrier to people is fear of failure. They're afraid they're going to fail. And that's why
I wish I could sit down with those people for an hour and I would tell them, I'm so glad that you recognize that failure is in your future. What I want you to do is I want you to have 10 times the amount of failure than what you think you're going to have, because as psychotic as it sounds, there's no way you can have success without failure. Listen, it's the journey, my friends. The climb is better than the arrival. You got to get pumped and amped about the journey. Most people, they see the destination, they see the top of the mountain, they see the goal. Do you know how many multimillionaires that once they break through and they make that million, there's like this, I had more fun getting here than I had more fun climbing to this place than actually being in this place. Same thing with people that have massive success. Now that they've arrived, they had more fun. So you got to slow down and realize that, someone once said, if you're climbing the ladder. All right, let me hold that quote for a second and back up. Friends, here's the bottom line. Listen to the voice of experience and wisdom from all of these people, okay? All of these people will tell you that the process of getting to their dream was actually more exciting than the arrival of their dream. Think about all the setbacks that Steve Jobs went through. All of the setbacks that Walt Disney went through. I've read both of their books. Both of them have been quoted saying, even though it was stressful, same thing with Donald Trump. Everybody goes to New York. I bet if you looked on Instagram and you hashtag Trump Tower, there could be literally millions of photos pop up of people. Every time that Trump Tower is like one of the probably top 10 things to visit in New York City. I mean, it's popular. Everybody loves, of course, Donald Trump has his share of haters, but there's a lot of people that love Donald Trump. But the amount of pressure, the amount of stress, the amount of failures, setbacks, and all of them will tell you, those are the best times of their lives. That the climb that's why you see all these people, once they've mastered something, there's this boredom that comes in, and they start trying other things just because once you've conquered it and you've done it, you miss that excitement of the journey, the thrill of the ride, the thrill of the risk, the thrill of pulling. Look at Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban said this, and this guy's a billionaire. He said, I'd give anything to go back to when I was in my 20s in that apartment, staying up all night long, building business, losing track of time, and realize, oh my God, it's been 3 days and I haven't eaten, because he's so passionate, right? All of these people, you go study their stories and they will all tell you that. So the reason I'm saying that is because of this fear of failure. If that's the reason, if fear of failure is holding you back from your dream, cut that loose, my friends. Literally, abandon it. Let it go and say, you know what? I'm going for it, because if fear of failure is the only thing that's holding me back, then I'm actually holding myself back from a gift. I'm holding myself back to the secret of success is fail more. So instead of fearing it, look at that failure or the possibility of failure and realize, even with all the worst case scenarios, it's still going to be a thrill. Still, you're going to look back and you're going to say, man, those were the best days of my life, man.
That's right. There's enjoying the ride, as it were. You got to, it's a good way to look at it is loving the game. And when I say game, don't misinterpret that. I mean the game of life and loving life. It's like you gotta love the battle and love the conflict and love the just playing the game. You know, it's great to win. You don't always win, but you still have to love the game. And when you do that, then failure is a lot less paralyzing.
Case in point, Mission 25 is a startup. It's an entrepreneurial, it's a startup ministry. It's also a business. You know, the thing of it is, though, Mike and I can tell you from the very behind the scenes, we can tell you horror stories of stress, of pressure, of, oh my Lord, we're about to fail, man. Times when we're red on the face, embarrassed. Like red. Like, oh my, like didn't even want to look at people, we were so embarrassed. Literally. Times when we just like look at each other and we're like, oh, what are we gonna do? Or times when we like literally go to bed at 4:30 and the alarm is going off at 5:10. And not going to bed at 4:30 because we were at Denny's hanging out, drinking milkshakes. No, because we were working on Mission 25. And we got to be up in, 30, 40 minutes?
Yeah.
And like waking up and deliriously like loading all the food into the back of the van. But these are the best times of our lives, man. Like, we look back, I thank God someone didn't just hand us $1 million and say, here, you know, you can buy all the marketing stuff you need, hire video teams to travel with you, you know, do all this stuff. I'm actually grateful for the sweat and the struggle and the stairs and the mountain, because it's given us not only memories, it's also given us a deeper resolve, a deeper fight. You know, you got to understand where fight comes from. Sometimes fight comes from pressure and setbacks and trials and frustration, and your determination grows when you're being laughed at and people are like, that's stupid, or people are like overlooking you, or people aren't valuing you, or people aren't like, you know, I mean, you want to talk about a real life nightmare, or not nightmare, but a real life experience. Mike and I walking into Mission 25 in Los Angeles, and there being 16 people there. You try, like, we're in Los Angeles to do a missions trip.
Kind of a big city.
What is it?
Kind of a big city.
Yeah, kind of only the first or second biggest city in America. But not only that, it's like, for me, and Mike and I, during the video, we stood in the back of the room, and I was like, dude, I didn't want to go up front. Like, Mike was like, me neither. I was like, dude, it's like, you know. But that was one of our best missions trips, you know. It's one of those things where, like, way down the road, 5 years from now, can you imagine what people are going to do when they hear, you guys once only had 16 people at a Mission 25? Are you serious? Yep. 16, baby. Los Angeles. There's failure for you.
Yeah, and you know, that's what I was saying before. Those sort of situations, and you know, because at the end of the day, we got creative. We prevailed. We went and served at Skid Row twice, which has like 5,000 homeless people, and it ended up being exactly like Julia said, and like you mentioned, Matt, it ended up being a great missions trip. And so we figured out ways to make it work. We had to get creative. And that experience that looked like a failure ended up building confidence in us, building, you know, and teaching us. And one of the things you have to be as an entrepreneur, you have to have a teachable spirit. You need to be able to learn. You need to look at every situation and say, what can I learn from this? If nothing else, I need to learn from this situation. If it's a failure, if it's a success, if it's just a boring set of statistics on a spreadsheet, learn from it.
You will lose your ego. You will lose your ego. You will go through some humility, some humiliating experiences. You will some days want to just sail away and never come back. And on your way sailing away, throw your phone in the ocean and never come back, right? You'll have these emotions where you're like, I just want to live a normal life, you know? I just want to I want to become a recluse. I want to become Amish, you know? I want to go and disappear, you know? I don't want to do big things. I don't want to take risk anymore. You know what I'm saying? You'll have real moments like that. That's normal. But embrace them. feel it, be aware of it, but realize that's just an emotion. It's not a reality. The reality is your dream is your dream because it's your dream. There's your quote. Your dream is your dream because it's your dream. Your passion is your passion because it's your passion. Period.
And that's why long-term goals and keeping your dreams in front of you are so important, because that's what gets you over the bumps in the road when you have that long-term vision. That actually reminds me, Matt, remember when we were in Detroit and we went to that little Mexican cafe sort of store and we talked to the owner? So
tell the story.
One of the things that we like to do when we're on the road is we'll Yelp for interesting and unique food around us when we're going to grab something to eat. And I think it was on Thursday right before.
We want the hole in the walls is what Mike is saying.
Yeah.
We don't want Outback ever. We don't want Chick-fil-A. We don't want Taco Bell. We don't want Panera Bread, Chipotle, none of that. Go ahead, Mike.
Right, so we're looking for a unique place, and Matt's like, man, I found this Mexican food that's, a couple miles from here on Yelp, and Yelp is the greatest tool ever for finding those things. And it's got like 80 reviews. They're super positive. Everybody says it's wonderful. We're like, all right, let's go. So we pull up, and first of all, it was a little weird because it was like a market. It was like a supermarket. And Matt walks in ahead of us, and he's just standing there in the doorway looking. And we walk in, and it's like this little glass case, right? Totally not what we expected. It's like a little glass case like you'd have in a gas station or something. We're like, well, let's try it. Everybody, rated it super high. So we got some food. The food was amazing. It really was good. And we happened to meet the owner. I can't remember his name. But the owner came over, started talking to us. And it turns out he owns the whole strip mall area that's in. He built that supermarket, and he put the food in there because he's got he was Caledonian, but his friends or his cousins or whatever were Mexican from San Diego and came and showed him how to cook the food. And so he started the food. Anyway, so we're talking to him. Man, this is great food. And he said, yeah, I built this, and it was a lot of work, and Matt sort of asked him, well, how much work was it? Tell me about what starting this was like. And he said, well, my was his brother and him he said, we worked, 15 or 16 hours a day, 7 days a week without a day off for a year and a half. Think about that.
You hear that, guys? You hear that? Every day, 16 hours a day without a day off, and you ready for this? No pay. Like he lost his house. He had to move in with his mom. Let's talk business. You guys want to talk failure for a minute? Here's a man in Detroit when the economy is at its worst 5 years ago, and he starts this business, opens this shopping center, and there literally was no money. These guys had to work and work and work and work. No money, work, and he had to go live with his mom. And you know what? 5 years without a vacation. There's real business. There's real business, my friends.
He said.
So that's what I'm saying. Anybody can succeed. Go ahead, Mike.
He said they broke even. They finally broke even, got in the black after about 4.5 years. And I'm like, man, that's, tell me about what was that like? He said, well, I was living with my parents. He said, I'm actually still living with my parents. And because I didn't take any pay for 4.5 years as he built the business. And he's working 14, 15 hours a day, every day. What one of the interesting and funny things, he said, well, during those first couple of years when money was really tight, the salespeople that he has a supermarket there, they would come in to collect the money, and he had to hide in his own store. So he was hiding from the salesman because he had no money to pay them. But today, let me fast forward to today. His food was so amazing. It took a while to sort of gain the reputation. He was on the local TV station, and he was in a local paper for the best sandwich in the paper and best local Mexican food on TV. And he said the newspaper actually tripled his business overnight. He said it's just been steady since then. He's got a day crowd coming in, and now he's finally making money, and he's able to pull a salary. But it's been almost 5 years. So he literally invested 5 years of his life in doing nothing but building that business. It's going to pay off for him now. And I'm sure he's going to look back on those days and say, man, those were the days.
Oh, there's no, and he felt that way. Like, I kept asking, dude, how did you like survive? By the way, Christy, he was not single. He was married with what, 3 kids?
3 kids.
3 kids, and I said, dude, how did your wife not most wives leave their husbands when they're doing this. That's why you got to have the right spouse if you're going to be a businessman and a successful businessman, you got to have a spouse that gets it. Like, gets it. They just get it. They understand that there are seasons. In businesses, there are seasons where you have to just cut down. You can't even go buy a milkshake. You cannot even go, you sell your watch. You go to the pawn shop often. You're always on Craigslist. Okay, you know what? Maybe we can sell this coffee pot here, and get enough money for gas this week. No, this is no joke. Like, when you're starting a business, and you don't have investors, and you're starting and you're literally, sometimes you got to dig it out. Sometimes you literally got to you got to hustle. You've got to sacrifice. You've got to do whatever it takes. If it means sleeping in the back of your truck, sleeping with your parents, sleeping on the floor, selling stuff. Listen, here's the bottom line about business. It's brutal. It's bloody. It's painful. It's not easy. It's major sacrifice. All these people think, you know what? And by the way, Mike, his restaurant, it was so bad. Carol didn't even want to eat it, man. It's like, I'm not eating here. You know what I'm saying? Me and Mike are like, yeah, like, this is going to be awesome. Like, at first, right? It's not a fancy Mexican restaurant. I mean, they're on the benches, what do they call it? The booths?
Yeah.
There was like duct tape.
Yeah. Like,
over what you could tell would be like cracks in the booth or whatever. But you know something? It was some of the best Mexican. So you take the contrast. Let's talk Rainforest Cafe. Unbelievable, right? Horrible food. You got this place, no Rainforest Cafe feeling. But it was amazing quality Mexican. But I'm going to tell you what else. It had really good service.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Hey, we had some questions, too. I don't know that we're going to get to them. I wanted to bring up one other thing really interesting from a marketing standpoint and just kind of get your thoughts on it. Have you seen what Coca-Cola is doing right now?
Dude, it's genius, man.
It's like the most brilliant thing I've seen. Yeah.
And like every Facebook post now on Instagram, you know what I'm doing? I'm bracing myself for it. I'm just going to accept the fact that for the next 60 days, all I'm going to see is bottles of Coke with people's names. Like, they're smiling in the van. You know what I'm saying? They're at the restaurant. They got, now you'll never see me holding up a Matt Coke. I'm just letting you know up front. It's not coming. But it is genius, Mike.
So,
I mean, what
for those
Coke never ceases to amaze me.
Yeah, for those that don't know, they're printing Coke bottles and cans with names on the can, and you could get a 12-pack, and I don't buy Coke, so I don't know exactly, but by looking, what I'm gleaning is that you could have several different names, and I've seen some that say like Soulmate and things of that nature, but they're printing different things on the can, and it's. What's that?
The Soulmate one. I'll take that one. Buy it for me, my friend.
So, to me, I'm looking at it saying this is the single most brilliant marketing move I have ever seen. Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. In the day, and Gary Vaynerchuk, who's a marketing genius, says, market in the year that you live in. And today, you know what social media is? Social media is the plumbing for word of mouth. Okay? That's it. I mean, social media is word of mouth at scale. It's like global scale, word of mouth. I can tell 1,500 people like that what I think about a product. Okay, that's what social media is. It's light speed word of mouth, and so everybody is going on social media. Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter is flooded with happy people with a can of Coke. That's just, and you know what it costs Coke? Zero.
Zero.
Nothing. whatever the cost is to do the campaign, to be able to put the names and stuff on it. I assume that there was some technology that enabled that allowed them to do, one-time printing or whatever. But so they probably had a technological investment, but for the marketing traction that they're getting, I'm sure it was minuscule.
Well, and not only that, the sales. Listen, Christy's right. She heard a kid say, "Mom, get it for me. I'm not going to open it." It now becomes a collector's item for some people, sitting up on someone's dresser, getting it for a birthday gift or a gag gift or whatever. It becomes now. You're right. It's becoming a culture, and it is genius. It's very genius, and I think that's why Coca-Cola is extremely successful, because they're not resting on their success. You know what? They don't listen. Coke doesn't have to do another thing, right? They don't. I mean, Coke has built a brand that it's got its fanatics, it's got its followers. I mean, Coke, the actual product, the taste isn't changing. I mean, Coke is Coke, right? But the bottom line is, the way they've marketed through the years, their creativity, the fact that they never stop, that's what I like. I like companies that, even though they have massive success, they don't stop innovating and trying to stay, like you said, market in the day that you're in. I like that about them, and I think that's a lesson that all of us young entrepreneurs can learn and stick in the back of our mind, that no matter how successful you become, don't stop innovating. Don't stop looking for better ways to, don't stop hustling. You know what I see, Coke? You know what? That's a hustle move. That's like sticking it in Pepsi's space. Like, too bad you didn't think of this. Like, here we come again. Just when Pepsi thinks they're going to catch up, bam. Coke is like the Roadrunner. Pepsi is like the Coyote. Even though I hate both. But I used to love Pepsi.
From a marketing standpoint, I think that's a good analogy. And like I said, the single most brilliant move I've ever seen. Unbelievable. And
I'm mad that we didn't.
Yeah, I wonder if they must have thought of all the implications of what it would mean, but unbelievable, crazy creativity, and that's. Well, we didn't get to any of our questions. No, it's all right.
It's all right. It's all good. It's the way it is, man. But tomorrow we'll be talking about family and relationships. I will share the story of what I learned from this elderly couple that I met from Chicago. I met over here in Saugatuck. Back on the road, my friends. Good 20-hour drive ahead of me. Much prayers needed. Mike, I love you, buddy. Praying for you. And thank you for all you that watched live today. Go start. Go do it. Quit fearing failure. Embrace it. Go through it. Get more of it. And we'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget to tell your friends and family and anybody you know about Fuel for Success. And you're always welcome to watch any previous episode at fuelforsuccess.tv. And I do recommend that when you go to fuelforsuccess.tv, watch the juicing episode.
Thank you very much, everyone, and we will see you soon. God bless.